Welcome to the FCAN webinar, Partnering for Success, Creating Education Alignment That Works. I am your host, Kathy McDonald, Assistant Director for Network Partnerships at the Florida College Access Network. A few housekeeping items. First, we welcome your questions. Please submit those in the question box on the right side in your dashboard. If you're not seeing your dashboard, just click on the orange arrow to open it up and submit your questions in the box. We are all about learning together and we'd love to hear what's on your mind. Second, please share what you're learning on social media. We'd love to learn what's resonating with you. You can find us at FL College Access and our guest presenters today at Nipsey_Believe. Please use the hashtag FCAN so we can find you. Finally, we will be recording today's webinar and all materials will be available within 1 week. I am so excited to welcome on today's webinar the National Post-Secondary Strategy Institute experts. These are folks who really have spent a lifetime of perfecting ways to help more of our students succeed. First up, please join me in welcoming Dr. Joyce Brown, who is president of Joyce V. Brown Consulting Group, an organization providing college and workforce readiness coaching and professional development to schools, districts, and nonprofit agencies throughout the nation. She is a recognized school counseling leader serving as a teacher, counselor, and district director at school counseling within the Chicago Public Schools. She was the chief architect of their district-wide 4-week summer transition program, Freshman Connection for 20,000 freshmen, and successfully developed and introduced a data-driven, comprehensive counseling model that repurposed the role of 400 high school counselors into college advising leaders. Dr. Brown has served as a consultant of the Department of Education FAFSA Tracking Pilot Program, College Board, National Office of School Counseling Advocacy, and the Education Trust. As a founding member of the National Consortium for School Counseling and Post-Secondary Success, she provides consultative services to former First Lady Michelle Obama's Reach Higher initiative. She's also an adjunct faculty and member of Johns Hopkins University. Next, please join me in welcoming Greg Darniter, who in 2003 established the Department of Post-Secondary Education and Student Development at the Chicago Public Schools, designing and implementing an assortment of post-secondary academic, financial, and social support programs while building university, corporate, and civic partnerships to enhance college access. In 2008, he was named the director of the Department of College and Career Preparation for the district, a newly formed department. In 2009, Secretary of Education Ernie Duncan named Greg senior advisor to the Secretary on the College Access Initiative at the U.S. Department of Education, where he served as a leading voice on the president's 2020 goal until he left the administration in May 2016. He represented the United States Department of Education on First Lady Michelle Obama's Reach Higher initiative from 2013 to 2016. And upon his return to Chicago, he established the College and Career Strategic Directions to provide data analysis, program and long-range strategic planning, board development, fundraising, and evaluation services to nonprofit, foundation, corporate, school district, and government agencies. He currently serves as the chair of the Partnership for College Completion as a senior advisor to the Steens Family Foundation. I am hearing a little background noise, so let me just mute some folks. Okay, there we go. All right, next up, please join me in welcoming guest presenter Kelly Sparks, who is a NIPSey partner and the Chief Executive Officer of Maple Grove Objective, which helps organizations strategically use data to improve outcomes for youth and communities. She has 20 years of experience in the education field and is a national expert and innovator in data strategy. Previously, she held the position of principal researcher at the American Institutes for Research, where she led the College and Career Readiness Group and served as the director of the National Charter School Resource Center. As principal researcher, Sparks was responsible for all aspects of evaluation, design, and oversight of large-scale evaluation projects. Prior to her work at AIR, Sparks was the research director at the Chicago Public Schools, responsible for tracking the post-secondary outcomes of students and analyzing the data to increase understanding of the levers that impact post-secondary success. Her research and data team developed innovative approaches to connect school and central office administrators with actionable data to target their efforts and improve their outcomes. Finally, a warm welcome to Carol Lopez, who is currently supervising college and career readiness and supporting school counselors and BRACE advisors for the 6th largest school district in the United States. She has served in the educational profession as a teacher, school counselor, and beyond for the last 20 years. Carol advocates for students' post-secondary attainment through community outreach in Broward County and is the co-chair of the local college access network, Bridge to Life. Carol has been honored as one of the 100 2018 Outstanding Women of Broward County and was also named as one of FCAN's unsung heroes for her recovery work during the Marjory Stoneman Douglas tragedy. Carol is passionate about education and the future of today's youth. Now, I know we have some folks on the listening today who are new to FCAN, so very briefly, our mission is to lead the collaborative movement to ensure every Floridian achieves an education beyond high school and a rewarding career. Our vision is to build a Florida working together where education is the pathway to economic mobility for all. We do our work in 3 primary ways. First is through our local college access networks, which are cross-sector leaders that collaborate to provide more support for student success. Second is through our FCAN publishes research and data on evidence-based practices and policy opportunities to strengthen Florida's talent pool. And finally, FCAN coordinates 4 College Ready Florida initiatives that support students in continuing their education after high school. Our work is guided by our 7 conditions for success, which you can find out more about on our website. Today's webinar are great examples of 3 of these: clear information and guidance, effective use of data, and community collaboration. To get us started today, for those of you, again, who are not familiar with the collaborative movement that we are fortunate enough to guide, is our local college access networks in Florida. We've been building a culture of collaboration across the state over the last 6+ years, bringing together school districts, higher education, business, philanthropy, nonprofits, community organizations, and local government. We now have 17 of these cross-sector coalitions that serve 82% of the state's population. And these groups look to set post-secondary attainment goals to build talent-strong communities where students are earning education beyond high school that will prepare them for tomorrow's jobs. These communities and others in Florida are demonstrating that through collaboration, students will earn the credential they need and employers will have the talent they need to succeed. Now it's time to get you all joining in on the conversation. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. I believe you can choose as many of the follow apply. So please share with us what has been your biggest challenge in fully leveraging community partnerships. Is it data sharing, lack of trust, silos, getting everyone on the same page, or perhaps something else? And if it's something else, feel free to share that in the question box so we have a sense of some of the challenges that you're looking to address. And if you haven't had a chance to vote yet, please do so now. Just give that a couple of more seconds here. Great, great, love it. So getting everyone on the same page is kind of the lead contender here, but okay, I am gonna go ahead and close that out. I see some folks are not able to vote, sorry about that, but we will see if we can fix that. So as you can see, getting everyone on the same page is one of the challenges, and that's certainly something we work hard on through our local college access networks. But silos and data sharing are also a big challenge for almost half of you, and then lack of trust to a less extent from there. So let me go ahead and hide that. Thank you all for participating. And now with that, I am excited to welcome to the floor Ms. Joyce Brown to begin sharing the NPSI model with you. So Joyce, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Kathleen, and it is our pleasure to join all of you today. Thank you for sharing that poll. I think the results, you will find some interesting strategies as we go forward with this presentation. As Kathleen has said, I am Joyce Brown, and today you are joined by me and my two fellow partners, Greg Darniter and Kelly Sparks. We are members of a newly formed national organization entitled the National Post-Secondary Advising Institute. That's a long name, so we finally refer to ourselves as NPSI. Our goal is to help school districts develop district-wide post-secondary advising strategies in collaboration with their external partners, so at the end of high school, every child will have a solid post-secondary plan. And these goals of the NPSI framework really align with the FCAN mission and vision. Central to our work is collaboration between K-12 districts and their external partners. This is a key component of the NPSI model. So we are very excited today to share the work that we've been doing around this model across the country. The model emphasizes, as you see on the screen, three key components. The first component is a leadership vision at the district that includes post-secondary attainment goals for every single student. The second component is a data strategy. And the third component is the intentional engagement of school counselors as leaders of post-secondary advising. Although these three components are present in most school districts, what we recognize that often these roles operate in silos. And from the poll, we see that there is a challenge there. When school districts organize around these three critical areas and work in collaboration with their external partners, the right conditions are created to accelerate post-secondary opportunities. That's what we all want, a quick win. And in order to help every child obtain a credential beyond a high school diploma, whether it's a professional certificate or a 2 or 4 year degree, research indicates that every kid will need something more than a high school diploma in the near future, as 65% of the jobs will require it. On the next slide, we want to show you what we call our NPSI capacity building framework. In addition to our three components of leadership, data, and school counselor engagement, the NPSI model has 4 levers of action: relationships, communication, partnerships, that's very key, and shared accountability. These levers help support the collaboration efforts, and it helps K-12 districts build out strategies to support making sure all kids reach their goals by examining who should be included, what should be done, and why is this work of post-secondary advising so very, very important. On the next slide, you will see the 8 essential elements of the NPSI framework: vision, post-secondary advising professional development. This is targeted professional development around post-secondary advising. School counselor leadership, data access and use, district level collaboration, school level collaboration, a communications plan, and a sustainable collaboration plan. These 8 areas are critical to establishing the NPSI model, and these 8 areas is what we engage district level teams with their external partners when we hold NPSI convenings. On the next slide, we would like to share with you why this post-secondary advising model is so very important. On the next slide, we see that this is a national expectation. All students, college and career ready, but we know that collaboration is required. We need to break down those silos that all of us know exist. So college and career readiness are buzzwords that are flipped out across all education sectors. I think we all would agree that the work of getting every student positioned to achieve post-secondary success is really a heavy lift. This is why we must begin to focus our efforts around intentionally integrating the work of K-12 districts, nonprofits, college access organizations, chambers of commerce, and workforce partners. On the next slide, we want to say that this is the NPSI vision. We want to emphasize that there is great value in convening stakeholders to hold these conversations about what would it take to make collaboration happen. The NIPSI model finds great value in convening stakeholders together to take a proactive approach to executing district-wide post-secondary advising strategies. When we say all, we mean all. So the plans must be made in partnership to make sure that all kids are included. Those are the kids who are homeless, the ones with multiple tattoos, the kids who are in foster care, those who have heard of a place called college, and those who want to go to work. All really means all for the NIPSI team. Our convenings bring district teams together with their external partners for 2.5 days of meaningful conversations. We hold working meetings. This is not listening, it's working, planning, thinking together, and doing. It provides our participants with what they say is very valuable, and that's a dedicated time, a dedicated space to think, plan, and understand what is really happening in their districts and what needs to take place to ensure that equity happens for all of the students. This is a very important concept. On the next slide, we want to reemphasize the collaboration aspect. We think everybody has a role. The key stakeholders are the ground level practitioners that sit in K-12 districts and K-12 schools, the higher education arena, our college access and community organizations, chambers of commerce and workforce boards, the philanthropy foundation community, and government. All of these roles have a opportunity to collaborate at NIPSI convenings. Helping all students get ready is at the center of our work, and working in partnerships will help increase the goal of making sure every kid has a solid post-secondary pathway at the end of high school. Now Kelly Sparks will share a little bit more about the NIPSI model. Kelly?
Thanks, Joyce. So as we focus on collaboration and all of the various elements of collaboration that need to happen to see post-secondary sustain and continue to increase and improve student outcomes, we focus on school districts being the unit of change. That when school districts are well organized around a leadership framework, a data strategy, and school counselor engagement, that it opens up the ability to create stronger partnerships with college access organizations, with higher ed institutions, with kind of all nonprofits working to support students in the school district, and with workforce leaders. Because when a school district is well organized and is very clear on their vision and organized around that vision, they can clearly articulate to their partners what the needs are, and they can have a collaborative vision with all their partners to get that work done. On the next slide, I want to share some framework that we use to help think about all of the work that is being done around college access and success in a district and where external partners can engage. So we look at the 4 buckets of awareness, readiness, access, and success. And so some work may be cross-sector across these, but we find that it's really helpful for a district and its partners to think about these 4 buckets together, see what the student needs are in each area, and then start to plug in the support, so the student supports. So on the next slide, we want to take a quick poll, and the question is, in which of the following areas does your organization have the most difficulty documenting partnership collaboration? So I'll give you a minute to read that and then put your answer in.
So we're getting some responses here. Let's just get that a few more seconds. Okay, gonna give it another. Again, we're continuing from some folks that they're having trouble voting. Yay, technology. So sorry about that with everyone. Thanks to those of you who are voting. Feel free to put your response in the box in the question box if you want to participate. So let's go ahead and close that out. So for those of you who were able to participate, we can see continuous communication is, the biggest area of challenges, but intentional engagement of school counselors and willingness to call out and identify achievement gaps are not too far behind. So thanks to all of you for voting. And let me go ahead and hide that, and then I can send it back to Kelly.
Thanks. And then just a comment on the, you'll hear, if you continue to engage with NIPSI, you'll hear us talk about communication almost at every aspect of the work. And I want to say, collaboration is easy to talk about. It's really hard to do. It's just really hard to do, no matter whether you're in education or somewhere else. And so, we'd like to just talk about strategies to make that happen, knowing that it's hard work on top of the hard work you're already doing. So we want to take a minute to just talk a little bit about the NIPSI background and how we came to be, because I think it's helpful to understand the NIPSI model when you can hear how we built it. So if you go to the next slide, Joyce, actually, I think Kathy had mentioned in our bios that Greg, Joyce, and I all worked together in the Chicago Public Schools back in 2003 to roughly 2009. And we started the Department of Post-Secondary Education. At the time, it was a new department that Greg led, and was at a time when the district was just moving from focusing on high school graduation to what students are doing after high school graduation and setting a goal for student success in the post-secondary space. So Greg led the department. I was the director of data and research, and Joyce led the school counseling department from the central office aspect. So she was the senior director at the central office that then worked with all the counselors in the school buildings. And when we were building this, which was really like, we didn't have a model to follow. So we were building and creating and seeing what stuck to the wall. But as over time, as we've gone our different ways and done different consulting, and Greg and Joyce working in the Department of Education, we've been able to come back and really glean some key points about why it worked and why it continues to work in Chicago Public Schools. Since we use a lot of that learning in the stuff we share in NIPSI. And in a little bit, you'll hear from Carol Lopez at Broward about how they were able to apply some of those NIPSI aspects in Broward. So we're going to talk about Chicago for just a little bit so you have the context, and then we'll talk about applications in other districts. And so we'll take a quick look at progress of how it's set up and progress, and then I'm going to turn it over to Greg to talk more about that. And Greg, if you're talking, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
How's it? Am I good now?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, thank you. So when this work started in 2003, Chicago Public Schools basically did not have strategies for key elements of moving more young people into post-secondary options, whether college or the workforce and the such. So there was no strategy for AP. There was no strategy for career and technical ed. There was no strategy around international baccalaureate program and the such. And so one of the key things was the belief system that we needed to help to establish in terms of ensuring that every child, believing that every child can successfully go through K-12 and matriculate into a post-secondary option. So the district mission statement, which did not include the word all, was changed to something like prepare all students for success in post-secondary without the need for remediation. We can go to the next slide. So we were tasked with these these data points might align with some of the counties in Florida. I think Broward, which we'll hear about in a second from Carol, is actually larger than we had in, or about the same size as we had in 2003, of over 400,000 students. But basically, our work initially focused on high schools, but it very quickly worked backwards to include middle grades. So that it was a secondary grade strategy. You can go to the next headline or the next slide. So this was the headline that really got everybody's attention the year after the department was established. And basically this said to woke up people on a Friday, as you can see, basically said to Chicago taxpayers, guess what? Only 6 entering high school freshmen will ever get a college degree. And of course, that was totally unacceptable to everyone in the city, from the mayor on down to parents and students, and obviously teachers and educators and the such. 2003-4 was the years that the National Student Clearinghouse was beginning to be accepted by the research community as a fairly valid and substantive source of information that had over 90% of all entering freshmen into post-secondary institutions 2- and 4-year across the country. And so this was fairly reliable information, and we had a partnership with the University of Chicago and the what is called today and was called back then the Consortium on School Research. So we can, so they were an invaluable partner in terms of the district partnering with a highly recognized research institution. All right, next headline. So these are some of the quick data points. The one that I'm most proud of is that headline of 6. If it was to run tomorrow in the Tribune, would have 20 young people, or those figurines colored in, and the 20 represents the number of entering high school freshmen who would earn a bachelor's degree. We would have to add on to that the AA degree and credentialing achievements of young people. But so we went from 6% of entering high school freshmen graduating with a BA degree to 20% of those young people. So attendance went up, GPA throughout high schools went up, and the such. And so the next slide, please. But I just a quick reminder, this did not all happen at once. And again, our initial challenge was 125,000 high school kids across roughly 110 high schools, and then add on another 130 or 40,000 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So we had 250,000 kids across 650 schools. A few of your counties, districts in Florida would be that size. But the thing we want to remind people of is that whether you're a district of 110 high schools or a district of 1 high school, this work all comes down to each individual high school and the belief that starts with the principal and the leaders within that high school, the vision they have around what every single child can achieve while they're under their guidance and direction through middle grades and high school. So with that, I'm going to kick it back to Kelly.
So on the next slide, want to again circle back to what you all responded with communication being one of the hardest things to tackle. And the best way we can recommend to address that is to get everyone in a room and talking. So when this work started in Chicago back in 2003, 2004, there was a team, cross-functional team put together of district staff from Chicago Public Schools, both from the district and our school level staff, so there were principals and counselors in the room as well. Researchers from our university partner at the University of Chicago. There were nonprofits, so there were college access nonprofits, there were higher ed education folks, there were funders, And there were also, our city agency representatives. So it started with a big planning team looking at data and saying, what are we dealing with and what do we all want to do together? So there's no, it's not going to work. You're not going to see change if it's just a district trying to figure it out on its own. It's not going to change if it's just a college access nonprofit trying to figure out how to solve the problem on its own. Higher ed can't solve the problem on its own, right? This is a continuum from preschool to career. We need all of the folks who are doing the good work to communicate and do this work together and build that collaborative team, which building that collaboration and that trust takes time. But we urge you to start by all getting in the same room and talking it through. So on the next slide, you'll see that collaboration, that kind of conversation, communication is the basis for the work that we do as we do our conferences and our learning series. We do couple information sessions on like what are the strategies. Strategy chats also are like what are the key strategies that you can do. But all around the conversation of who takes what role and how do we do this together. So we have dedicated time for teams to work together. So that's districts with their partners having a conversation around the strategies, around the data, and what do we do. We have focused time for districts, teams to work or to learn from each other. And then we have time where we have from within each district team sharing with similar roles. So like everyone who has a leadership role is having a conversation together. Everyone who has a data analysis role is having a conversation together. So again, internal planning within the district team and their partners, and then cross-sharing to generate ideas. We always put our partners to work. So we never like to do too much of the sit and get, but like to really push people's thinking and then get them down to work to really build these data-informed collaboratives and build a strategy for working forward. So on the next slide, we'll just want to quickly share the map of where we've been working. So we have over 150 districts across the country that we've engaged with in the last 2 years. We are about to announce our 8, like in the next 2 weeks, we'll be announcing our 8 inaugural NIPSC network districts, where will be the 8 districts that we really start to dive in deep. And then we have annually in March timeframe a national conference, and then we've done regional conferences across the country as well. Now I'll turn it back to Joyce.
Thank you, Kelly. Now, you all have heard a great deal of information, and I just want to give you one key takeaway. The NIPSC framework pushes districts in collaboration with their partners to figure out how do we do this work together. It's all about organizing strategies that can help you use what you currently have in place, and we have a lot of tools amongst us. But what do you do with these tools together? This is why we hope that you engage with the NIPSC team to flush this all out. On the next slide, then, I just want to give you a framing context. All means all. We want to bring to life this vision of getting all kids ready. It's central to our core belief as a NIPSC team. So we know that if everybody works together, the vision of alignment can occur. But what we know is that with the ringing of the school bell, students come to us at different levels and with different educational needs. Some students have the safety nets they need and the resources they need, but others don't. But we know that through intentional, strong, internal and external partnerships, we can give all kids what they need to have success. We can work together as partners, break down the silos, and align the work to give students who need just a little bit more success. On the next slide, I ask you this question. Is this vision of working together possible? so that at the end of high school, we can guarantee with data and accountability that all students have multiple pathways for post-secondary opportunities. Our nation faces enrollment and persistent challenges that impact the ability of students from every community to have success at the end of high school. So in closing, I ask this question again: is this vision possible? I say yes, if we all come together to think, work, plan, and organize strategies together. Greg, please share with our audience how they can engage further with the NIPSE team.
So a big thank you again to Kathy and her staff about providing this opportunity to the NIPSE team. We are more than interested in following up after this call with any of you to explore how we might support your efforts and how you're, whether you're from a school district or you're from a college access program, you're from higher ed. We are partnering with national organizations like Complete College America, Chiefs for Change, which a number of superintendents from Florida are involved with. And so this takes, as you've been hearing, a village of all of us. And the accomplishments that happened in Chicago were only accomplished because of support from the nonprofit college access world, as well as the business community and the staff. So you have our contact information before you. All you need to do is send us a quick note or give us a call, and we will set up a time to explore. We've heard wonderful things about the different EPCAN affiliates throughout the state. We're excited about the potential. We're excited about supporting your work as Florida moves to accomplish its employment and post-secondary education goals over the coming years, given that we all realize that the base of our economy is and will continue to be an educated workforce in the South. So with that, I think I'm turning this over to Carol Lopez so that we can get a bird's eye view inside of Broward County. I'll just say that it's been a pleasure for us to host her and a couple of her colleagues, including her boss, a couple of our national conferences. And Joyce Kelly and I had the privilege and opportunity to work with her superintendent, Bob Runcie. He was in Chicago at the same time we were building this work, and has been an extremely supportive voice and in not only when we were all in Chicago, but Bob's been in Broward. So with that, Carol, I'm turning this over to you.
Thanks, Greg. So our vision here at Broward is educating today's students to succeed in tomorrow's world. And of course, that has a lot to do with college career and life readiness. And we, as we went to the NIPSE conference, we always keep this in the forefront of our minds, but yet we weren't doing a great job in the college and career space. And we knew that that had to change. So here, Broward County Public Schools, we are the 6th largest district in the US. You can see by the numbers how big we are, yet we needed a systems change. And we were fortunate enough that our chief academic officer went with us to the NIPSE conference because, like the team was saying, you really need buy-in from everybody. It can't just be the school counseling department trying to make changes. Right now, our averages in elementary is 1,000 students. Most elementary schools only have one counselor. In the secondary space, that's 560, and that's at the small end of what our spectrum is. And right now, I have guidance bolded in red because here in Broward County, we are still considered guidance counselors, not school counselors, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And we're fortunate enough to have BRACE, which is Broward Advisors for Continuing Education. We have that in all of our high schools, and these are people that are in a clerical bargaining unit, yet they are the ones responsible to really help our students in the college and career space, because we noticed that school counselors do not have the time to do this. So in our system, 4 years ago, we only had 5.5 members, and it was the director of school counseling and BRACE. It was me that came in as a supervisor of college and career readiness, a secondary specialist who was in charge of all grades 6 through 12, including centers, and an elementary specialist. We had one clerical to support us and an ESOL counselor that was really borrowed time from the ESOL department, but helped with our ESOL population, which is very large, as you can see. We were undergoing a strategic plan, and we wanted college and career readiness to really reflect what our mission was. And so we as a district said, okay, we need to put college and career and life readiness in the forefront of what we do. And this included early exploration, pathway selection, students to have a life plan, collaboration with family and community. And we really wanted to eliminate some of the redundancy in data that we had. With that, we also, because of the NIPSE conference, started to look at that, kind of pathways that kids were going to, and took a little bit of help from Chicago and initiated what we call our 4 E's, which is where are students, going after high school? Are they going to go to E, employment, explore with a gap year, enroll in a post-secondary, whether it be college, career technical, or enlist in the military? We really wanted to dive a closer look at that, knowing still that we had challenges in our district system, which we only had, like I said, 5.5 people. So I wanted to include this because we have come a long way since that conference 2 years ago, and we're definitely not where we want to be yet. But we were those 5 people, and we have grown to over 20 people supporting our district. We have really broken the school counseling profession and have specialists in social emotional learning, academics, and college and career readiness. And we really want to continue to hire. Although most people right now are on a hiring freeze, our department is still looking for 18 counselors. So anybody out there, email me. So we wanted to definitely change our framework, and we wanted to include more people to help those ratios. So now with our support counselors, we're actually able to provide small groups in some of our schools that need help. We're able to do classroom lessons. We have done an amazing job in really using our platform, Naviance, our college and career platform, to go in and do classroom lessons where the school counselors would not have. And we're able to do some individual as well, because of the support and the systems framework that we've been able to accomplish. We know that mental health is crucial, and we didn't feel as school counselors we had a voice in that space. And unfortunately, it took a tragedy to really then position our school counselors to know that we needed social emotional learning earlier on. And now we have 2 additional counselors in a school where we needed the most. I wanted to just incorporate that we do have the Naviance, like I mentioned before. It has really helped with equity in our schools. All of our scholarships on there, every one of our students, grades 6 through 12, and their parents have access to the Naviance platform. So it's really been able to help us not only with our data, but really kind of find out what our students' interests are and what should we be, guiding our workshops with parents towards. And with that, we've also initiated our college access network. Like the NIPSE team said before me, it really does take a village. We need everybody that's touching our kids to talk the same language about FAFSA, about career pathways. So we have, from the Boys and Girls Club to the Alliance to Handy, a very robust Broward Bridge to Life college access network that is continuously growing. We had an amazing college fair this past October, and we are continuing to do really great things for our community. And we've chosen some schools that need extra help. Gonna give them a concierge service approach to help with college and career readiness, and specifically with FAFSA. And another thing that we're amazingly proud of is our Brace Cadets, which is a whole nother webinar that we'll have next week. So make sure you tune in for that. But we've really chosen to choose the power of students and give them a voice and train them, because we know that our ratios are big, and even though we've hired more support personnel, it's still not enough. So we have trained students in high schools to help us with college and career, and they do campaigns around financial aid, FAFSA, using Naviance, College 101, Match and Fit, and other different campaigns around college and career to really help us move the needle towards having the kids really have those 4 E's that I talked about earlier. And one of the biggest things that the NIPSE really showed that what we needed was that shift from guidance to school counseling. And we are actively undergoing a job study to make sure that we move from that 1977 job description that we had that hasn't been changed to now to school counseling. As you can see here, I just put in our org chart how it's growing and will continue to grow from that 5.5 people that we had. And so, like I said, with the job study, we really do need to be considered school counselors and really own that space again. And we are definitely moving in the right direction. And that was with the help of bringing, all the community around the same message and same goal, and having, our superintendent really look at that and say, yeah, that's right. Like, why are we, going back to a 1977 model when we've progressed so much? Our challenge, though, is definitely to change the mindset of our guidance counselors to really become and embrace being a school counselor now. So that's something that we are actively looking to, train our, soon to be from guidance to school counselors, change those behaviors and really embrace the new job description. When we were at NIPSE, one of the things that really stood out to me and our team was data and action. And we really have a lot of data. Of course, being the 6th largest school district, we have a lot of data, but we don't have somebody in our department that's dedicated to, finding out what we need and how the data really goes, and how can we use the data to take action. We kind of have, different people from different departments kind of look at it, and we look at it, and it's something that we still need help with, and we are actively trying to have somebody in our department just focusing on data, because we know the importance of how data can really improve our outcomes and metrics if we take the right action. And I just wanted to end here with a shout out to our social media Brace Cadets, or our Brace Cadets, and you can find them the next webinar next week if you want to do a little homework on them. They are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and they're currently doing a campaign, a Finish Strong campaign for the class of 2020. But you can see all their posts and all their help that they've had to really transform our college and career work in the district with that youth voice. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Carol, and thanks to the NIPSI team. And now let's open it up for questions. Actually, let me go ahead and share my webcam too. Chuck shared in, I believe this was on the NIPSI slides, you used the phrase post-secondary pipeline, and the graphic included a box for workforce alongside the other options. Can you share a bit about how you language that with your district and your higher education folks? Kelly, you're muted.
Yeah. So I'll start, and then Joyce and Greg, maybe you could add in. But when we talk about post-secondary, and it's one of those spaces where everybody has issue with every term you use. So we like to just say, for us, it's doing something more after high school. It's continuing your education in some way. So that might be going into a 2-year or 4-year college, which is what people typically think of when you say post-secondary. But that might be on-the-job training. It might be apprenticeship. It might be going into a city year or Peace Corps. For us, it's something more. It's making sure that once you graduate high school, you're not stopping. Oh, and Joyce, you're on mute.
Everybody on that slide, we had intentional meetings with them. We had data sharing with them. We called one the higher ed folks. It was a higher ed action team. So it was a HEAT committee. But we had intentional meetings with all of our partners. And when we stopped to count up how many partners we had over 50, including meeting with the workforce board, because we were just intent on providing those opportunities across all those pathways. And that requires talking and sharing information.
Great, thanks, Joyce. Elizabeth is asking where they can find out more about upcoming NIPSI trainings. If you go to their website, which you should see it in their email signatures, npsi.org, they have a listing there. They also have a listing of their upcoming webinars, which I highly recommend. So George is asking, Broward's initiative 2 includes term early employability. Can you explain a little more about that, Carol?
Early employability as far as post-secondary work, is that what they're saying?
George, if you don't mind chiming back in the question box. It was on one of your slides. George says, career academies help students get useful credentials. Do counselors guide students to the array of credentials that may be available at 2-year program?
Definitely, and I think that's with our strategic plan. We really just wanted to make sure that kids are getting that K through 12. So we are working with CPE partners and making sure that all students try to choose a pathway that's correct for them. And absolutely, we're using our counselors to really guide them with that. We've also been using Naviance, which helps with for students to explore what their strengths are, and we're able to have those conversations with our students then as well.
Great. Jennifer's asking, are grant opportunities available to support the initiative locally through a nonprofit organization? What immediately comes to mind is your Title IV grant that you got for Brace, but the Brace Cadets, but I don't know if there's others.
That's what we're using currently, and we're constantly applying for anything that comes our way.
Yeah. Joyce, I saw you nodding. Were you going to add something to that?
I was just going to add that when K-12 puts down their vision, like Carol did, like we need help, and they organized a program, we find that when we put the ideas down at the table, foundations and others will support that initiative. And I don't know if that's how you got funding, Carol, but that's what we did. We talked about what kids needed, made the plan up, and then just knocked on the doors, and our partners just came to the table to support the work.
Yeah, and I think that came directly from our district and collaborating with everybody and making sure that college and career readiness was part of our strategic plan. So we had to really name it and call it out.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. And that is something that we see within our LCANs throughout the state. And it's part of, what we talk about in bringing those different partners together is not only do those different partners each bring different strengths, but in many cases you have access to different funds. So is that, Carol was talking earlier about the Title IV funds, that's for school districts. In my role, I can't have access to that, but as a school district, they can. There's other types of funds, like for instance, at our Career Source regional offices, they have access to WIOA funds and some other sources that can help our students that other partners at the table might not have access to. So to Joyce's point, that's yet another example of why it's so great to bring your partners together.
And I could
Um,
also tell you,
Yeah.
Kelly was a dedicated data strategist, and I heard Carol say they don't have that position, but Kelly Grant Funds funded that data unit in our department. Is that correct?
That is correct. That's how it started. The Gates Foundation back then had put pretty big investments into Chicago Public Schools. That's not how it's funded now in Chicago Public Schools. Now they are district funded. Over time, they've been able to find kind of other state and local resources to make that happen.
I'll just add, NIPSI has some funds from the Kresge Foundation to actually explore having conversations with many of you on the phone. We've had, and with Kathy's help actually, and her former boss, have introduced us to a couple of Florida foundations that are very interested in knowing which counties are interested in having a convening or creating a vision, expanding their vision around college and career. So, promising nothing, there are private funders who are very interested in your work. Part of it is, how do we take this opportunity to gel some things together, both on the vision side, on the partnership side, and present a vision to potential funders to help support the work that you're already doing.
Also want to mention that we did receive funds from the Gates grant also specifically for our Brace Cadets initiative, and that's been very helpful. Also partnering up with your local college access network, they may be able to get grants that as a school district we're not able to get.
Great example. And, to your point, there are particularly the larger funding organizations really do want to encourage collaboration because they know it's so important in terms of the effectiveness of helping more students. So it's another incentive to bring the partners together because it does make you a more interesting potential candidate to be funded. So thanks for sharing that. Where are you seeing, and this could be Carol or this could be some of the NIPSI team, where are you seeing the greatest progress through collaboration?
For us, it has been very helpful for our FAFSA completions. That's number one. Not being the only people that own FAFSA has been helpful because of sometimes our families are distrusting of schools. So being able to partner with the Boys and Girls Club or another national organization that touches our kids and being able to have FAFSA drives in a completely different space at churches, at community centers. We even have something with a trio bus that goes around and goes to neighborhoods and actually does, some type of FAFSA completion. I think that has been a big win for us. Of course, we're not where we want to be, but that has been something that's been really helpful. I think also we've been doing a lot of a fit and match in trying to really find out why kids want to go to a different college or why they want to go here versus something that may be a better fit for them. Because of the collaboration of so many people wanting kids to be successful, and we see that our graduation rates may be in 86%, but it's really 64% of kids that are enrolling in post-secondary, especially college or a technical college. We want to see where we're having where we're missing on those conversations. We did a actual group presentation with parents. And when we ask them, we have great, technical opportunities right here in our local backyard. Why, your son, daughter wants to be a mechanic. And we noticed that a lot of the times it was the parents that were kind of pushing back on that, like, oh, mechanic is good for somebody else, but not necessarily for my student. They need to go away. They need a 4-year program. So being able to really have not only just the school district or school counselor or brace advisor talk to parents and really be able to open their eyes to all the pipelines that we have here in our local community, that has really been a big win for us as well.
Can I just add, Kathy, I know we're out of time, but FAFSA is a great example. We just did our national conference a couple months ago, and we had reports of districts raising their FAFSA rate 20, 25, 30, 35 percentage points in a single year. And just one other comment, we just obtained a contract in San Antonio to be the post-secondary component of their collective impact strategy that's coming out of the mayor's office, and as a very dynamic nonprofit partnership driving their collective impact. But we're the post-secondary. So if it's a collective impact framework, we tend not to use that term. But if it is a term that you use, and obviously that is all about partnership and having very specific defined goals, let's talk and figure out if we can be supportive to what we're trying to achieve. We do not have a Florida convening on the table as we talk here today. We would love to do that, and if things begin to clear up, particularly into 21, let's do one. We need your help, and we need to know who's interested. And again, FCAN has been tremendously helpful in positioning NPSI's work in partnership, not only with them, but with hopefully a good number of you as we move forward.
Thanks, Greg, for that. And yeah, you and Carol both bring up a really great point, which is, again, part of where partnerships can be so helpful. Carol used the term trust. Some of those community partners may have already established trust with some of the students and the families you're looking to serve in a way that you may not have, and that's not a good or a bad thing. It's just leverage those partners for the strengths that they already have. I know I've heard that from some of our other LCANs, particularly Future Ready Collier and Champions for Learning down in Naples. So with that, our time is up, but you do have the ability to connect with the NPSI folks, and I encourage you to do so. Many thanks to Joyce, Greg, Kelly, and Carol for helping us understand how to leverage those relationships, how to build stronger alignment, and to collaborate so that more of our students can succeed and earn the credentials they need to be successful. Thank you to all of you for joining us today. Stay safe out there, be well, and sooner than later, we all will be back together. I look forward to that time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.